Okay, Erev Tov, good evening to everybody. We're in Parashat Tisa, and we're dedicating the Shiur Lirfuat Chayal, a soldier that was severely injured today, and his name is Ari, but it's Moshe Aharon ben Leiba. Okay. So, Bezrat Hashem, the shiur will be to all the injured soldiers and Kochot HaBitachon and all the Chatufim hostages, and Bezrat Hashem to Atzlachat Am Yisrael. Good evening, Lauren. So let's share screen. We're doing today Parashat Ha'egel, but Parashat Ha'egel is very, very wide and we have a lot to say, so we'll just focus on Aaron's part in the Egel. So let's go and see what's going on. וירא העם כי בושש משה לרדת מן ההר. So the Am looks for the 40 days and they mistakenly think the days are over. ויקהל העם על אהרון ויאמרו אליו, קום עשה לנו אלוהים אשר ילכו לפנינו, כי זה משה האיש אשר אלינו מארץ מצרים, לא ידענו מהיילו. ויאמר עליהם אהרון, פרקו נזמי הזהב, אשר באוזני בנשיכם, בניכם ובנותיכם, ויביאו אליי. So, even without the פרשנות of Chazal, that Aaron wanted to earn time, okay, to waste their time and to postpone till maybe Moshe comes, you can see that Aaron doesn't, Aaron tells them, I'm not going to do it, you do it, okay. ויתפרקו כל העם את נזמי הזעם אשר באוזניהם, good evening, Mr. Posner, and ויביאו אל אהרון, and Mrs. Posner, so ויביאו אל אהרון, okay? So everybody comes to Aaron very fast, and he is very surprised to see how fast it is. ויקח מידם, ויצר אותו בחרת. Pay attention what he did, what he didn't do. ויעשהו עגל מסכה. So according to this pasuk, Aaron takes all the תכשיטים, all the, I don't know, bracelet, whatever, and he melts it down into the furnace, and he himself made the עגל. ויאמרו אלה אלוהיך ישראל אשר העלוך מארץ מצרים, וירא אהרון ויבן מזבח לפניו, ויקרא אהרון ויאמר חג להשם מחר. So you see again how he tries to postpone it till tomorrow, and to maybe expects Moshe to get down and then sit. Okay. וידבר השם אל משה, לך רד כי שיחת עמך וכולי וכולי. And Moshe argues, למה יאמרו מצרים לאמור? We say it on תעניות, ויחל משה את פני השם אלוקיו וכולי. ויפן וירד משה מן ההר, ושני לוחות העדות בידו. לוחות כתובים משני עבריהם, מזה ומזה הם כתובים. Essay once, it's not related to the shiur, but essay once commented, according to the pshat, not according to Chazal, the luchot were written from both sides, meaning that the ktav was not, if it's two luchot, was two pages, 3 and 4, okay? Unlike Chazal. Chazal said that it was 2 pages, but you could read the same thing from both sides. But the pshat, according to what's written here, is mishneh evrehem, from both sides, like page from both sides. Yeah, you put in the printer and say both sides, meaning that it's 4 pages. Okay? זה הערה, לא משנה. והלוחות מעשה אלוקים הם, והמכתב מכתב אלוקים, חזור הלוחות וכולי. And my first question is the 2 following psukim. וישמע יהושע את כל העם ברעו. ויאמר אל משה כל מלחמה במחנה. אוקיי? ויאמר משה אומר לו, אין כל ענות גבורה, ואין כל ענות חלושה, כל ענות אנוכי שומע. What do these 2 psukim give us to the context? It is just an argument, a misunderstanding of Yehoshua. He thinks that the noise is Kol Milchama, and Moshe corrects him up and says, no, you don't understand, it's not Kol Milchama, it's called Anot, כן? It's called של מכולות around the golden calf. But why do we need that for the future, for the past? Is it related to everything we've said before? Is it related to everything we are going to say? No. Moshe Rabbeinu heard in heaven about Chet HaEgel. He comes down and he sees the Mecholot. You don't need his discussion here, because without it, ויהי כאשר קרב אל המחנה, when he gets nearer to the camp, וירא את העגל ומחולות, ויחרף Moshe, and then he's very angry, and then he breaks it down, וישבר אותם תחת ההר. So why do we need the two psukim? That's the first question. It's not related to Aaron, it's a question about Yoshua's role in the whole thing, because Lichora, Yoshua sits down and doesn't do anything. So Moshe is a hero of this parasha. Aaron, the hero, maybe the bad hero, but another hero. And Yoshua doesn't make any change to the story. So why do we need his share? That's the first question. But now, my second question comes because when Moshe Rabbeinu is very angry, ויקח את העגל אשר עשו וישרוף באש ויטחן עד אשר דק, וייזר על פני המים וישק את בני ישראל. So Moshe Rabbeinu grinds the golden calf and then he let עם ישראל drink from it. אוקיי, ויאמר משה אל אהרון, מה עשה לך העם הזה כי הבאת עליו חטאה גדולה? משה רבנו blames אהרון. What happened? Tell me. ויאמר אהרון, אני חרף אדוני. Don't be angry at me. אתה ידעת את העם כי בראו. ויאמרו לי, עשה לנו אלוהים אשר ילכו לפנינו. כי זה משה האיש אשר העלנו מארץ מצרים, לא ידענו מאיה לו. ואומר להם למי זהב, התפרקו ויתנו לי, ואשליחהו באש, ויצא העגל הזה. Make a comparison between what Aaron is now telling Moshe to the fact that we know before. Here, Aaron tells Moshe, I've asked them to bring me gold. They brought, and they threw everything to the furnace, and somehow, it's מעשה שטן, ויצא העגל הזה. It came out of the blue, this golden calf. Look at in real time, ויקח מידם, ויצר אותו בחרת, ויעשהו עגל מסכה. So who made the golden calf? It's not made up. Who made that? Aaron. So is he lying? Is he hiding his role in making the egel? How is it possible? We know, we can say a lot of things about Tanakh's heroes, but we cannot say about Aaron that he lies. We never find any gram of lie in Aaron's sichot to anybody. So how is it possible? Ibn Ezra asked that question, and Ibn Ezra talks at length and gives a lot of melitzioisher about Aharon, but lichora it looks like a stira. The bigger question is that what was the outcome of all this story? Now we have Milchama, Bezrat Hashem, one day it will be finished, Bezrat Hashem, with a big win, and Am Yisrael would come to check who is the bad hero of October 7th, who is guilty, okay? And they'll find, I don't know if they'll find the prime minister, they'll find the Ramatkal, I don't know, but for sure, they won't take the heroes or the heads of the nation and they'll make them more than what they were before. And Aharon, I don't know. Maybe he's really the one that made the egel, maybe he's less. but I wouldn't give him a prize to what he has done. Maybe it's a tragic, it was very tragic. He couldn't do anything. I don't know what, but I wouldn't give him a prize because he was a participant. He was making the egel. You cannot say any otherwise. And it seems as if Aharon is appointed to be a Kohen Gadol after the egel. It's a big question about Rashi's Shita, because Rashi's Shita she'en mukdam u'meuchar b'Torah, and what we have read in the former parasha in Perek Kafchet, that Aharon is appointed to be Kohen Gadol, so it happened after Chet HaEgel. So that's mamash a big question, because I cannot understand why HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes him and makes him into a Kohen Gadol. But even to the shitot of Ibn Ezra and others, that yesh mukdam u'meuchar b'Torah, and everything we've read in Parashat Tetzaveh happened before the Chet HaEgel, and Chet HaEgel appears in Tisa because it was after the nomination of Aharon in Parashat Tetzaveh. But even if Aharon was nominated on Parashat Tetzaveh, he was actually practicing in the Mishkan as a Kohen Gadol just in Vayikra Perek Chet, in Parashat Shmini. So for sure it happened after Chet HaEgel. So even if I wanted to appoint him to be the Kohen Gadol after such an involvement in making the Egel, I would say, hold on, 5 years you cannot do anything. I don't know, 3 years, 10 years, maybe all your life. And it's impossible because HaKadosh Baruch Hu appoints him to be the Kohen Gadol. So how can we understand from the one hand that he is appointed to be in Kohen Gadol, and from the other hand, we know from the Mishnah in Megillah that we don't even metargemim, we don't translate it to our Aramaic, because we don't want the comments to understand that how deeply Aaron was involved in making the Egel. It's a criticism about Aaron. We try to hide it. So from the one hand, we're pointing to be the Kohen Gadol, either for Rashi, that he was totally appointed after the Chet HaEgel, but even according to the other Shitot, that he's appointed before, but actually he becomes the Kohen Gadol after Chet HaEgel for all the Shitot. So how is it possible that you take the bad person of the Parashat HaEgel, the Egel affair, and you appoint him to be the Kohen Gadol? So there are 3 questions. One, about Yoshua's participation. We don't understand the argument between him and Moshe. Why does this argument make any relevancy to everything being said? And secondly, how does Aaron lie? And the Torah describes him as maker, as a egel maker, and he says, "No, I've thrown everything to the furnace, and it just came out like this." And the third question about his appointment as a Kohen Gadol. What I'm going to say now is in the name of Rav Meidan. It's based on 2 shiurim that I've heard from him. One is written in his book, and one I've heard from him orally. And you might like it, you might not, but I think it's very nice. He has a very, it's mamash symbolizes his shita of learning Torah. You know that Yoshua, it's not the first time that we have met him. We have met him before. Where did we see Yoshua? Not in Mitzrayim, but we've seen him in Parashat Beshalach with Amalek, nachon, in Refidim, vayavo Amalek, vayilachem im Yisrael beRefidim. And in Refidim, there is HaKadosh Baruch Hu talks to Am Yisrael by giving them water. He talked to Am Yisrael in Sinai by giving them Torah, and he talked to Moshe, to Am Yisrael, by giving them water in Refidim. And Yoshua, he is heard there, ויאמר משה אל יהושע, בחר לנו אנשים, and אתה ויהושע וכו', and Moshe stands on the hill, and Yoshua v'Chu from one side and from the other side, they hold his hands. And you know the famous Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah that Moshe holds his hands towards Lemala. Okay. So Yoshua once heard Milchama. He heard Amalek coming, and he was right, because Amalek came. And Yoshua, he is later becomes Sar HaTzava. He becomes a Ramatkal. He's a leader of Am Yisrael to Eretz Israel. We don't suspect that he didn't understand what's an alarm is, what's going on. Okay, he knew exactly when Amalek came that it was called Milchama. Now, Moshe gets from heaven with a luchot, and Yoshua tells him, ויהי כאשר קרב אל המחנה, וישמע יהושע את כל העם ברעו, ויאמר אל משה כל מלחמה במחנה. So again, he is with Moshe, and again, like in Amalek, he tells Moshe, I'm hearing the voice of a war. Did he miss it? Did he just imagine that there was a war? Unlikely. לא סביר. Because Yoshua was a Sar Tzava, he knew exactly what's going on. He knew exactly how to identify a war. But apparently, he has already heard the voice of a war in the Machaneh. Am Yisrael fought. With whom? Not with Amalek.
Erev Rav.
Yeah, or you say the Erev Rav, between themselves. Yes, there was a Milchemet Achim, a brother war. How do I know that? You know the famous Chazal, they said that they killed Chur. Rashi brings it that they killed Chur, and therefore Aaron was afraid that they would kill him, and then he said, how did Chazal know that? Where did they take them from? Did they have a Masoret from Moshe and Sinai that they killed Chur? No. Just pay attention to the psukim. That's very, very typical to Rav Meidan. He takes ma'amarim of Chazal and he shows how the psukim themselves tell us what Chazal suspect. If you look in Milchemet Amalek and compare the two Milchamot, Milchemet Amalek and this Milchama, in Milchemet Amalek you have Moshe, Aharon, and Chur. Here, Moshe, Yoshua, and Chur, okay? Here you see Moshe, Aharon, Yoshua, but somebody is missing. If Chur was so important in Milchemet Amalek that he was kimat like Moshe, and he was his ozer, he held his hands, where did he disappear here in the whole affair of the Egel? It's unlikely.
By the way, Chur is also mentioned at the end of Parshat Mishpatim.
Right. Nachon, Moshe Rabbeinu goes, yeah, you're right. When he goes to Mount Sinai to get the Torah, Nachon, there are some stages, Moshe, Aaron, v'Chur, okay, he is mentioned. So you see that he is mamash one of the leaders of the nation, and it's very unlikely that here Chur was just, in his tent or on the side. It's mamash lo savir, bilti savir. So Chur was kanirei involved, and they killed him. That's why Chazal said, since he is absent, we don't see his nochechut. That's why Chazal concluded that he had been killed. And in order to kill Chur is a leader. If you want to make a rebellion and to kill the leader, you don't just start a rebellion, Ceausescu. You don't find Ceausescu and you kill him. You start with a lot of demonstrations, and then you kill the soldiers, and then you kill the palace guards, and then you get into the palace and you catch the leader. So it's very clear that there was some war. I don't know when it started. Maybe it started after 10 days, maybe it started after 30 days, maybe it started just on the 40th days when Moshe didn't come. But Yoshua really identified Kol Milchama B'Machaneh. And therefore, he knows that some people got killed. Who got killed? And he tells Moshe, it's mamash like Milchemet Amalek. There, then I heard fighting with Amalek. Here I hear fighting brothers. Moshe tells him, no, that's finished. You might have been right, but that's finished. They killed them already. But now I'm hearing just the voice of the Mecholot around the Egel. Therefore, the Vikuach is mentioned. The argument between Yoshua and Moshe is mentioned. So there is, you have to understand the background. There is Milchemet Achim, okay? And Aharon is in a very, very bad situation because if he waits, the Milchemet Achim would go on. If he doesn't wait, so he has to make something to stop it. Mamash like the 6th of October. Everybody felt that there was a Milchemet Achim around. Everybody felt that there is something must be done very critical. You know, today the kids were with me and they took me both of the computers, so I couldn't learn. So I had hours to read just newspaper from the 2-3 months that I keep. I keep the Musaf Shabbat from Makor Rishon, and I gather, and every 2 months I read it in Beyachad. So I had a lot of Musafim from a few months ago, and then I read Katavot, article from Sukkot. This Sukkot, mamash a week before the war, with Rav Shilat from Ma'ale Adomim, Rabbi Yitzchak Shilat, and he says there is mamash milchemet achim. He said something like, I just see 2 things that would get them out of it. Either Heskem Shalom with Saudi Arabia, or Chas v'Shalom, a critical, he didn't say war, a critical affair with the Arabs. So we know what happened. Unfortunately, but that's the same situation Aaron is into it. From the one side, there is a war, and they kill. And now we understand that Rashi is not just mentioning, okay, they killed one, they'll kill Aaron as well. No, it's mamash milchemet achim. The other option is to do something very crucial and to stop it. And Aaron chooses to make the egel, to do an avodah zarah, and he suffered from it because 2 of his sons died in the 1st of Nisan in the Yom Hakamat HaMishkan, but he was a tragic hero, but he was a hero, and he earned his keuna gdola because he really cared for Am Yisrael. And he really knew that either that Am Yisrael make Avodah Zarah and Al would be considered as the leader of the Avodah Zarah, or that they wouldn't make Avodah Zarah, but they'll kill each other. And I prefer that would make Avodah Zarah. Kadosh Baruch Hu would forget them, forgive them, and maybe not. We know that Hakadosh Baruch Hu says, but if they fight with each other, that's the worst.
Yeah, that is the worst.
And everything I say is very nice, but what's a chisoron of what I'm saying? That's Aaron's shita, but Moshe said otherwise, okay? Because if you read the pshat, Aaron was a bad person. Moshe is a righteous, okay? So Moshe was a ish emet, and he preferred. How can you do that? How can you be Oved Avodah Zarah? So he preferred that they would fight, okay? Because what can I do? If I didn't organize a fight, the war between them, but making them sin, making them sin in Avodah Zarah, that's something Moshe cannot think about. But Aharon was a tragic person to lose here, but to earn from the other side, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu When HaKadosh Baruch Hu talks to Moshe, how does he talk to Moshe? Directly, panim el panim. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu talks to Aaron, how does he talk to Aaron? Through the Avnei HaChoshen, through the otiyot, the letters of Am Yisrael. So Aaron symbolizes in his kesher to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he identifies Am Yisrael, so he cannot let Am Yisrael be not one unit, one Am, one nation. So Aaron devotes his own life in order to be as a tragic hero here and to do it. And therefore, from the one side, he's criticized by Moshe, and he's criticized, as we said, that the Mishnah in Megillah says that don't even translate it to Aramaic, because then you might think, you might hear the truth. But from the other side, he is a real person to be appointed to be a Kohen Gadol. And therefore, even after all this parasha, he's appointed to be a Kohen Gadol. And that's, I really liked it because it's mamash kashur to our tkufa that we live. Rav Meidan says something, another thing, but this is less, but I just want you to hear that, and then I'll go back to this first answer. He says that Aharon, what did Aharon do? Aharon לקח מידם, he took the gold from their hands, ויצר אותו בחרת ויעשהו עגל מסכה. Here we come to another methodology of Rav Meidan. He has a big imagination, and here he adds a lot of things to the psukim, and you might like it, you might dislike it. So he takes all the gold, ויצר אותו בחרת. So we understand that he made a sculpture of a golden calf. But Rav Meidan said no. He took the, how do you say, the bulk, the gush zahav, okay, a bulk of gold, and he engraved, he made like with a knife, he made a siman, a sign. He tried to make a sign of a golden calf. But the bulk, the gush zahav, was complete, still complete. It had like the challah that you cut on Erev Shabbat, so you slice it, but you see a slice, but it's complete, right? So the whole bulk was complete. There was just the rest of the all the she'eriot, remnants, all the remnants of the gold. And he had to remove it, and he threw it into the ash, okay? He threw everything, but Maaseh Satan, unfortunately, and before that, he asked Am Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu went 40 days ago. You remember where to? Went to Ha'anan in Mount Sinai to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But Am Yisrael didn't see just the fog, the cloud on the Har. Am Yisrael saw אש, חושך, ענן וערפל, אש, ודבריו שמענו מתוך האש. So he asked Am Yisrael, you know that your leader, Moshe, he went to the fire. Would this golden calf that you're talking about, can he go to the fire? That's what Moshe asked them. He said, yeah, he can. And then Aaron throws a big bulk of gold, and he expects the big bulk to get melted down and just fades away. And then he'll prove them that Moshe is much more than the golden calf. But what happened? But somehow the golden calf was caught in a rock or in the middle of the furnace. Something happened, and the soft remnant, all the she'eriot, engraved the shape of egel. So the egel went out, and all the remnant, it melted down inside the furnace. So Now they come and say, oh, Moshe Rabbeinu, you're right. He went into the ash of Mount Sinai, but he never came back. This Egel, not only that he went into the ash, but he came back. He came back like an Egel. That's what he says, Vayetze ha'egel hazeh. Okay, he didn't try to make an Egel. He tried just to engrave an Egel. But somehow it was true that Vayetze ha'egel hazeh. And it's very similar to Avraham Avinu and Haran, his brother. They both were in the furnace of Nimrod, okay? But Haran was thrown just, he threw himself to imitate Avraham Avinu, and he died. So Mamash, Aaron tried to kill the Egel in the furnace, but somehow, because of the Satan, it came back. And then Moshe comes. Seeing Moshe shows that he is the real Avraham Avinu, because he went into the ash and he came back. And then he is angrily throws the Egel Masecha into the furnace. And what happens? It's really melting down, okay? So what really happened? Moshe succeeded in what Aaron had failed before. Aaron tried to throw the egel and to melt it down in the furnace, but he actually succeeded just half the way. He succeeded in all the remnants that it melted down, but the egel himself came out, and that was a tragic outcome of what he had done. But Moshe Rabbeinu succeeded. He just threw it. He didn't. It wasn't caught, but any rock, and it didn't come back. And then it melted down. Okay, that's what Rav Meidan adds to the story. And then at the end of the day, so there is no contradiction, because Aaron describes himself. He told, yeah, I just vayatzar oto bacheret. I just made a shape of a golden calf. I didn't make a golden calf. I threw the whole bulk into the ash, and it came back like a golden calf. So vayetzeh, I can say it's not a lie. Okay, but you still have to ask yourself, so why did it really happen? Why did Moshe succeed? And why did Aaron not succeed? Why did Moshe throw the whole thing to the egel and metal down? And why did Aaron, when he tried to do it, the egel came back and just the remnant melted down? And the answer that Rav Meidan gives is that Moshe was very, very equal between what he thought and what he said. Moshe Rabbeinu was very, very angry about Avodah Zarah. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't have any conflict. So when he threw it all to the Kivshan HaEsh, he really wanted to destroy it, to exterminate it. So it succeeded. Aaron had a conflict, because Aaron, from the one side, as we said before, he wanted somehow the egel to exist, because that would stop Am Yisrael from fighting, from making war, from Milchemet Achim. But he gambled, because from the other side, if it succeeds, so we have Avodah Zarah. So Aaron is kavana, and it was echad b'peh, echad b'lev. With his kavana, he wanted to save Am Yisrael, but with his maasim, with his deeds, he made an egel. So that's why it didn't work out. And we see a lot of people in the history gambled like Aaron and succeeded like Moshe. When he comes to Korach and he tells HaKadosh Baruch Hu, אם כמות בני האדם ימותון כל אלה לא השם שלחני. ואם בריאה יברא Hashem, he tells the Kadosh Baruch Hu, if you, I give you an ultimatum, if they die like everybody, so I haven't been sent by Kadosh Baruch Hu. But if Kadosh Baruch Hu believes in me, so I want Kadosh Baruch Hu to create a special death for Korach and his family. And he succeeds. Eliyahu Be'ar HaKarmel, he says, אם האלוקים אמת, לכו אחריו. ועם הבעל לכו אחריו, and he succeeds. הקדוש ברוך הוא listens to him. Aaron tried to take the gamble, and he didn't succeed. And why? Because Aaron played with Avodah Zarah, and that's so. From the one hand, Aaron is a very tragic hero because he tried to save Am Yisrael from a fate of Milchemet Achim. But on the other hand, the other or less bad option was to make Avodah Zarah, and therefore he didn't succeed. So I come back, if you like it or not, that's something that he adds to the story. But coming back to the first hesber that he gives why Aaron was appointed leader to be the leader, because he saved Am Yisrael, and it's mamash like Bet Hillel. We don't have time, so I'll just tell you in short, but when we see Beit Hillel and Bet Shammai around the Talmud, they have a lot of machlokot. But if we try to characterize them, we see that Bet Shammai came from a very traditional families that kept laws, they kept the chukim and the mitzvot. They were very like Mea Sheorim people, and they were very conservative, shamranim, and they didn't want to change anything. But Hillel always tried to soften halacha, okay? To try to make it closer to the tzibur. Like they saw that there is a problem in Shvit, and the Torah even tells you that don't be afraid to make a loan before the Shvit. Lend your friend, and it will be okay, even though that there is a Shmitat Ksafim. But the tzibur, the commons, didn't want to lend because they were afraid of their money. What did Hillel do? He made the prosbul. He made a shtar, and he somehow passes over the issue of the din of Shmitat Ksafim. Okay, he tries to soften the halacha in such a way that you would be able to stand the shvit, and you won't be afraid to lend other needy money that he needs. And we can see it in a lot of things that Beit Hillel are very, very trying to go towards the people, but there is a mechir. There is something that they pay for these leniencies, that everybody calls them, you're lenient, you're a maker, you're not from the traditional conservative families that keeps the halacha, you're too lenient. So we still have and what does Hillel אומר in Avot, פרק א', משנה י"ב, הלל אומר, הווה מתלמידיו של אהרון הכהן, אוהב שלום ורודף שלום, אוהב את הבריות ומקרבן לתורה, okay? So usually, in בעלי המוסר says that מקרבן לתורה, you shouldn't be מקרב זה תורה עליהם, you should be מקרבן לתורה, but we can see from the several dinim that Hillel in a way was mekarev the Torah to the people, okay, to the commons, to the briot. So that was his attitude. It's the same. It's not that he just mentioned Aaron. Hillel and Aaron were very, very similar. They took a gamble. They undertook the responsibility that some people would call them lenient or egel maker or something like this, but they would save the tzibur from making a war. And therefore, in this way, we answer all the questions. We started from asking about Yoshua. Now we see that the two psukim of Yoshua were not just an argument. It gives you the whole background that it really there was really a war around in the background, and some people got killed, including Hur, and therefore Yoshua is afraid of a war. Moshe Rabbeinu tells him, okay, that's over. Now you have another issue of dancing around the Egel. And then we go to Aharon, and we can understand why, even though that he was a tragic hero, he was appointed to be the Kohen Gadol, because he undertaken responsibility on himself. And now we have to ask why, what was the truth? What was the truth? So according to what Rav Meidan said in his second explanation, there is no contradiction between what Aaron says and between what the Torah describes. But according to the first explanation, the main one, I would like to say that the real truth was here. מעשה לך, ויאמר אהרון אני חרף אדוני, ואומר להם למי זהב, התפרקו, ויתן לי ואשליחהו באש, ויצא העגל הזה. So that was the truth. Aaron didn't lie. The Torah itself, when talking on time about what happened, the Torah describes it כאילו, as if Aaron has made himself the Egel. The Torah exaggerates, and the Torah makes a big story about, on the burden, on the shoulders of Aaron, even though it wasn't true. Aaron didn't make the Egel. Aaron just threw it into the ash, and it was made up. But the Torah depicts it as if Aaron made the Egel, to see the heavy question, or the heavy discussion that Aaron had between him and himself, whether to save Am Yisrael from a war, or to ממש כאילו אני צריך לעשות את העגל. And therefore the Torah describes him as the Egel maker, but we know that he's the real hero of the whole parasha, and therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows that as well, and therefore from the one side he pays with his two sons, but from the other side he's appointed to be the Kohen Gadol. It's Rav Meidan.
Very good. Yesher koach.
Same to you.
Nice.
בשורות טובות.
טובות, כן.
לילה טוב. תודה רבה.
לילה טוב.
לילה טוב,
לילה טוב.
תודה.
לילה טוב.